thank you so much for taking time out. I think I caught sealing over the summer, and Tonic is absolutely fantastic in it. I guess my first question to you is, how did you get into animal training?
First, I started with a dog that I wanted to take to class, and I really enjoyed it. After I started, I was really good at it, so I started teaching, and then I opened a dog training school, and then I started a trick show to promote my dog training school, and then I was discovered from the cool tricks in the trick show. So it sort of happened accidentally, and then grew accidentally.
And with regards to Tonic, at what age did you start training him?
I adopted Tonic specifically for Pet Cemetery. There was a lead cat named Jin, and we were to match. So I got him at 10 months, and he started training at 10 months, and he's 8 now.
And when it comes to cats, are there certain breeds that are easier to train? The ones that are easier to work with?
I would say the more confident food motivated ones for sure. For the breeds, I have a Bengal leopard cat. They're supposed to be the border collies of cats, and they are highly intelligent, but that comes with a little bit of quirks. I believe Tonic is a Siberian, and I have some other ones, and I really like those.
And when it comes to, training, you said you started out with dogs and then you've moved into cats, are there any differences? What's the biggest difference between training a dog and training a cat? Because obviously cats are quite independent creatures.
I train the cats I train using a lot of choice for the animal. Like I don't, when you watch me train the cats, I don't necessarily tell them what to do. I have props that have meaning. So I have like a mark. If you get on it, you get paid. But I'm not going to tell you to get on it and stay. And I have an eye line stick. If you look at it, you get paid. So those things are opportunity for reinforcement instead of cues. The interesting piece is that I also train my dogs that way because people believe that you have to tell the dog what to do and have to listen. But all of us benefit from training our animals with a lot of choice for the animal. They're more likely to listen. So it works better on cats, but it works really well on dogs too. I mean, dogs benefit from that too.
Nice. And food is tends to be used quite a lot in animal training. I think I've seen some interviews where you've been on like live TV and stuff, and obviously, Tonic's been given some treats. How do you then kind of monitor their diet so that they're not overeating?
Tonic gets a little chubby during a movie. What I do is I look at what they've gotten at the end of the day and I adjust their meals so that I can try to keep them slim. I also think about how much breakfast that they should get before, based on how much work they're going to do in the day, because it is healthy for them to stay nice and slim. Using fresh chicken is another good idea. And yeah, so overall, but definitely when it comes to doing a movie, they get a little on the chubby side. And when we went back to do reshoots with Tonic, the producer says, he's lost some weight. I said, yeah, he was a little chubby.
Nice. Um, so we've recently got a third. We've got an 18-year-old, a 17-year-old, and we've got a kitten. He's about 7 months old now. For my daughter because she's 6 and she wanted one to play, and the other two they do want to play. Do you have any sort of tips for any sort of like little tricks that she could teach him? He's an orange cat. I should probably say that because I think orange cats can be a little bit wild, I think, in terms of temperament.
Yeah, they can be spicy. So they're a little wilder. So what you wanted, cats are different in that they're less likely to follow a food lure and to respond to man for food because they can catch their own food, and dogs work with us to hunt and for food. So what we do is we take a lure and we teach them to follow the lure like a magnet. So literally, as long as your cat follows the lure for a step and feed, and 2 steps and feed, and that's a really good place to start. And then when they're following the lure longer, then you could get them to go in a circle or come around and weave through your legs and things like that. But you have to teach them how to follow a lure, which is a step that you wouldn't have to do with a dog, or might not have to do with a dog.
Like I say, it's not so I'll get her set up in a bit. She can come and work for you in a few years. I mean,
There you
yeah,
go.
going back to Caught Stealing, obviously, Tonic works quite closely with both Austin Butler and Zoe Kravitz. How did you go about sort of building that relationship so that, he would be, quite happy to go to them?
I asked about Tonic. I asked about Austin right off the start. Like, is he going to work with me? I didn't do a lot of research because I would have found him intimidating then. So I wanted to look at him as another person, as another coworker. I didn't want to look at, but I did Google Austin Butler cats and found BuzzFeed videos of him and kittens, and I was like, okay, whoo! And I was assured by Darren. What I needed from him is to be compassionate, to be Tonic's Chuck Norris, so that a lot of the performance that I need, like, because I can train my cat to do all sorts of incredible things. I need Austin to be a team player and work with me on that. And so a lot of Tonic's success actually relies on Austin, whereas Austin doesn't need Tonic, we need Austin. So, and Austin gave us everything that we needed, and I'm really, really grateful for that because, again, it helped me with my performance. Darren gave me everything we needed. So we got 3 hours to meet with Austin twice. And in that moment, I taught him how does Tonic like to be pet and touched so that he wasn't annoying him, what does it look like what are the signs if Tonic feels unsafe? How do you jump in and call me over? Because I said to Austin, we have to make sure that we quit while Tonic is still having fun. We can't do so many takes that Tonic doesn't like what's happening because then Tonic's going to tap out. This is only reinforcing for him in the moment. And then I showed him how to teach and feed, how to train and feed. And the people who are the most amazing animal trainers are the compassionate communicators and people who have done a lot of sports because a lot of it's a mechanical skill. And Austin caught all of it right away. He was very good. We were very grateful to have him.
And I think at one point, he even kind of, he kind of stopped production because he was a little concerned about Tonic. So that must have been, really nice that, he was kind of looking out, he was treating him like he would a human co-star.
That is yeah, that was actually another one of the cats. And because Tonic didn't love going in the car, so we stopped and switched with this other cat who was like, cool, I like sitting in the car. And the cats were happy the majority of the time, and I had said to Austin, if I give you a cat in the car and I can't see the cat, can you tell me how he looked? And can you let me know if there's a problem? And it was only one time, thank goodness, he's in the car and the cat had done some takes and he said the cat started meowing. And it was out of character for the cat. So and I don't go on the walkie or look at the monitor. I feel like I need to look at the cat in real time, be as close as I can, looking at the cat, seeing what the cat sees. I have somebody else look at the monitor and they said, we need you to come in and get him. And I went up and I was like, what's up? And he said he was meowing. And I just wanted him to know that he had a voice. And we're like, this is why the cats did such a good job, because this cat then knows that if he doesn't want to do it, he can just say, and that Austin's going to have his back. This is an animal training, is allowing an animal to say no gets to the yes. So, yeah.
Great. And cats can be pretty territorial and they can be kind of nervous when you do move them to a new location. And obviously film sets are a busy place. There's lots of people. How do you go about preparing the animals to be in an environment like that?
I expose them to a lot. So my cat, a lot of times, a lot of cats need to spend a lot of time on the set to get to know it. My cats come out on the set and they're like, oh, sweet, new space, I'm going to get paid. And I spend the time showing them what they're going to do. But yeah, Tonic is constantly seeing new spaces, and that is the biggest challenge for cats. I think my secret is that Tonic is actually a live show performer as well. So we travel all year, and he does tricks and performs for audiences. And he loves that. He loves that lifestyle and adventure, so he's constantly going to new spaces. So that's why I knew. I was like, oh, they're looking for Tonic. They're going to need a cat that can handle exterior New York.
Yeah. And what was the sort of the most challenging aspect of Tonic's performance as Bud?
Well, definitely the environments. A lot of people are talking about, he's got such a beautiful, expressive face, and his performance and training was really good, and I appreciate that. To act, 'cause when you're looking on the movie, it looks like the streets are bare. There is people everywhere. There is honking. There are fans. There are paparazzi flashes. To take a cat and walk into that space is insanity. Like it takes a lot of skill set. It took me 27 years of animal training to figure out how to get a cat to a space where he can just walk outside New York City in that. And you'll look at his tail high with a hook. That's confidence. His body language is confident, which I was like, perfect. His character is on the run from gangsters and he doesn't even care. Like that's going to have to be his character because that's Tonic. The most challenging was absolutely the environment. They were insanity. And not only did Tonic do it, but we got a young kitten. We taught that kitten, or helped that kitten, to learn to feel safe. And we got an older cat that was also 8 years old that started out really good indoors, not comfortable outdoors. And by the time it was done, he was waltzing around New York City like a king. So
Nice. The thing that amazed me is that, you guys were able to put a bandage on a cat. Obviously, it's a fake bandage, but just to wear a bandage, because they don't like things on their legs.
that's right. You ever see a cat wearing a sweater and they just flop over and give up? That's true. And again, a lot of that has to do with choice. So I am a presenter at Clicker Expo, which is like a conference for positive reinforcement dog trainers. But a lot of the focus on that is something called cooperative care, where they teach animals in zoos to cooperate for their veterinary care on their own accord. And I used those techniques where Tonic was consenting to have the bandage put on his paw, and he knew he was going to get paid for it. But when I heard about that, I was like, oh man, and it was actually not that hard, fortunately.
It's good because as he had his operation recently, and the first thing he did when he got in was he wanted that bandage off of his arm. So yeah, he'd be terrible. I mean, Tonic, as you sort of mentioned, Tonic was one of the cats that played Church in Pet Cemetery, and he also had a part in Thanksgiving. They're obviously both, horror films, and caught stealing is a very different sort of genre. Is there any, different approaches, between, horror and then something like caught stealing?
Yeah, well, I think the horror really prepared Tonic for all of it, because the caught stealing would still have all of the conversations were intense and the action was intense. So there was definitely some sweet moments between Austin and Zoe. I think the prep for all of the other horrors really got us to this point, because we pretended stabbing each other, we pretended having these intense conversations, and the cats were completely unbothered by this sort of thing, which was amazing. So I think it all worked together to help prepare.
And he's had such a social, he's been a social media sensation with, the red carpet, turning up in his little leather jacket and his car. How have you found sort of that experience of, getting to take him on the red carpet and having just, the world fall in love with him?
That was the most, taking Tom to the red carpet was the most amazing adventure. Because I know that Tonic can do the live performances, and I know sometimes you can just point a camera at a cat until you get lucky and they show some behaviors, but Tonic was so highly trained. I thought, if I take him to the premiere and he drives onto the red carpet, people are going to see how spectacular and incredible this cat is. And I started training for that as soon as we stopped shooting Caught Stealing. I envisioned this premiere appearance and I started training for it. And it was such an incredible experience to see that and to see the reaction that people had to it. The leather jacket, he got a stylist at the last minute. So it was like, my cat has I worked with her on a commercial last week, and I said, hey, do you remember when you styled my cat to drive into the red carpet in New York? Like, is this real life? But one of my favorite things from that experience was when our handler, who was fantastic, she says she thought it was crazy that we would show up and say, oh, so is Tonic going to get in the car here and he's going to drive 10 feet? And she's like, "You people are insane. Like, you're just casually discussing how far your cat is going to drive in New York City outside." Like, she's like, "You're thinking we're going to be carrying a scared cat." And she couldn't believe the cat just hopped right out and felt totally comfortable on the street.
And I guess sort of, he not only can he drive cars, but he can do, he can ride a scooter and a skateboard. How long did that take to get him to learn that skill?
Skateboarding is very, very hard. It's very challenging. There's a lot to it. You got to stay on a board that's unsteady. So skateboarding took um, months, a few months for sure. The car, the car was like building off the skateboard, so that wasn't as long. But the turning of the wheel was a couple months. He can actually like turn the wheel, but in the in the car that he specifically got for caught stealing, the wheel doesn't move. So unfortunately, the world didn't get to see that part. But it took maybe I'd say a few months.
So we need to get him in the next Fast and the Furious film, is what I'm saying. So then he can turn up to the red carpet and he can get to do those moves.
Yes, yes. I think he needs a. I'm thinking chopper. Like he needs to come in on a chopper on the next. Or I need to think of something to top it for the next because he needs now a multitude of appearances.
Nice. Well, this has been absolutely fascinating to talk to you. Like I say, you have inspired my daughter. So I guess, our cat is in for, some intense few months of training. But thank you for taking the time out and, best of luck with Tonic and everybody else's future careers.
Thank you so much.